how can you be depressed when you love where you are? The mind creates these massive, heavy expectations that have to be met to feel like you're finally happy. If I get this, then I'll be happy. The heart just allows yourself to be as you are. The heart allows you to love yourself as you are, as life is. The heart trusts the journey. What sounds better? The mind says, once I get this thing, I'll be happy. You get the thing, you're not happy, and then it goes to, next thing, I'm not happy, next thing, I'm not happy, and you're in this fucking rat race of misery. Guess what the heart does? The heart says, I accept reality as it is, I love reality as it is, right fucking now. What's more sustainable? The heart. The heart has no conditions. The heart says, I love myself as I am, I love the journey as it is. The mind wants to fix, control. The heart wants to allow and surrender. Welcome to the New Age Sage podcast. Today's episode is about heart-based consciousness, which means living a life that's centered around your heart, not your mind. And before you think, what the fuck is this guy talking about? How can you lead your life from your heart? First off, this episode will show you how you can do that, and most importantly, why you should do that by showcasing what life looks like lived through the head and what life looks like lived through the heart. And I believe that you can live a life that's worth experiencing with joy, abundance, and beauty once you live from the heart. I'm saying this from experience as to my life before shifting to my heart was that of suffering, misery, and ego, in the sense that I could only feel happy if my mind's conditions of expectations were met, such as if a video I posted went viral, or if this girl I liked me back, or if this business opportunity worked out, that my happiness and joy was conditioned on X, Y, Z working out. If X happens, then I'll be happy. If Y happens, then I'll be happy. If Z happens, then I'll be happy. And guess what? That's almost every single human in the world conditions their happiness based on expectations being met. But does the heart agree with that? The mind fixes, the mind tries to control, the heart allows, right? The mind fights reality, the heart surrenders. If you're living life in your mind, you're fighting, you're controlling, you're literally trying to fight and control life to meet your expectations, right? When you live in your heart, you realize there are no expectations. It's amazing as it is, right? And I'm not saying that you shouldn't go out there and work and hustle and find your trade and your purpose, but if your life is lived through the lens of constantly fixing and controlling reality, you're going to be miserable, because think about how often your expectations are exactly met. Maybe 2% of the time. So you have a 98% rate of misery. The heart just wants things to be as they are. When you're in a state of love, you're accepting life as it is, right? You're loving what is. When you're resisting what is, you're in the mind. You can't resist reality and be in your heart at the same time. And you can't resist reality and be happy at the same time. When you allow reality to take place, you are happy because you are in a state of acceptance and love. So throughout this episode, I'll teach you how to actually shift to the heart and why it's important. And the first step, there's going to be 5 steps today. The first step is romance, because I think it's the easiest way to recognize this difference, to showcase the power of living from your heart versus mind. This is going to be the open the door to say, oh wow, this is a real felt difference in living life from my heart versus my mind. So if you think about love, should love be a mental activity, right? Should love be a logical thing? What that means is, like, should love be, I need this person to be this way so I can love them. A condition has to be met in my mind to love this person. Is that love? Or is that ego, needing things to be met the way you want them to be met? Love says, can I love this person exactly as they are? That's love, right? And with that comes freedom. If I love you as you are, I don't want to change you, I don't want to fix you, I don't want to control your behaviors. Love for the mind is, I can only love you if you meet my expectation of you, who I think you are in my mind. So I will constantly control you and put boundaries up to shift into a person I need you to be to feel safe. That's love from the mind. Love from the mind is control, boundaries, separation. Love from the heart is acceptance, freedom, loving you as you are. No boundaries, okay? So in actuality, think about this, right? I used to speak vulnerable. I'll try and say where my stories come from in these examples. When I used to love from the mind, I would look at my ex-girlfriend and see, how can I change this person to suit my mental needs? I want her to be less suggestive in her clothing, because then I can love her. Because then my mind will be like, ooh, she is what I need in this moment in my mind, right? So I tell her, you can't wear that top, your boobs are showing. You can't wear that pant, your butt looks too tight. You can't wear that makeup, you look like a whore. That wasn't remotely a good journey for me in life at all. Being that way, I'm not saying it with pride or anything like that, but I'm showing it as a showcase and example of why you can't love from the mind, because it's not love, it's control, right? When I did that stuff, I wasn't in love, I was in control, right? That's from the mind. Thankfully, with the same partner, I realized I was being a fucking idiot, and I shifted towards the heart, right? Once I loved her from the heart, it was, you are you, I cannot change you, I accept you as you are. That's love from the heart. Is that real love? Yes, because the heart allows. I allow you to be yourself. Not, I need you to be someone different so I can feel safe, right? You can't love from the mind because the mind wants to control. You can only love from the heart because the heart allows. Do you see the difference, right? Like if you're loving someone, you're saying, I need these boundaries so you can be someone I can feel safe with. Versus, just be you and I love you, right? Notice the power of that difference, right? Is it really love when you only can love someone if you change them? No, because you're not loving them. You're loving the idea of them in your mind they want to shift them to. Going back to earlier, you see something in your mind, an expectation of someone, and you want to fix and change reality to match that expectation. Love just allows them to be as they are. That's the difference, right? So the last point I'll make on this is that in romance, in the pursuit of romantic partnership, the Western world has created this logical mental model of love, right? I need my man to be this, da-da-da-da-da, right? And you go into the world trying to locate in your mind these exact qualities in someone. You're trying to love from the mind. That's not love. That's just like you having an expectation of reality. You're constantly trying to meet it, right? Love just is, right? And when you end up going into the field of love with a mental model of like, I need my person to be this way, right? A person can't be exactly the way you want them to be. So you'll end up committing to them and being like, ooh, they're showing these differences that I didn't expect, so I have to change them now, right? And you're in this fucking trap for years. However, if you fall in love from the heart, you know, and you should know that I can only commit to this person if I accept them exactly as they are. That's the condition for love from the heart. I can't commit to you until I can commit to myself. I accept you as you are, right? The mind says, I'm going to commit to this person and change them so then I can love them. Remember, if X, then Y. I'm going to commit to this person, then change them, then love them, right? No, that's not love. Love is looking at them and saying, I accept you as you are. I will not change you, and I love you as you are. Think of two relationships, right? Relationship A versus relationship B. Relationship A goes into it saying, I need you to be a certain way of mind, and I will change you constantly to get there. Versus, I accept and love you as you are. Think about the difference of relationship, right? The first one will be full of anger and stress and trauma and da-da-da-da. The other ones actually love because it just is. You allow them to be as they are, right? So that's the first example I have. That's the most powerful example of love from the heart versus mind. And there really is no, it's a redundant statement because there is no love from the mind, okay? So the transition to the next point is this also applies to the relationship to yourself, right? What if you in your mind look at yourself as someone who has to be fixed and changed constantly? Can you love yourself? Can you truly love yourself in this moment if you look at yourself and say, I can only be worthy of love if I change and heal these things? No, you can't, right? Because love loves what is, right? You can't love yourself and want to change yourself at the same time, right? You can love the process of changing, but you can't say I can only love you if you change this, right? So it's similar to the previous point of like, you can't conditionally love yourself based on an expectation in your mind, right? Conditional love for yourself says, living from the mind says, once I am no longer insecure, or once I no longer have weight issues, or once I no longer have these fears around my career or money, then I can finally feel good about myself, right? That's the mind. That's living from the mind, right? Once I get here, then I'll feel good about myself. The heart says, I already am worthy of love, right? All my pain, my trauma, my stress is all worthy of love. Me and my brokenness is worthy of love. That's love. That's the heart. The mind says you're only worthy if you change these things, these variables inside yourself, right? You can be worthy of love if you're traumatized or if you're healing from this painful endeavor. That's the mind, right? So heart-based consciousness with a relationship to yourself means no matter what I'm going through, if I'm feeling a trigger, if I'm feeling angry, if I'm feeling jealous, that I can still love myself for all these things, right? And the belief that you're broken keeps you broken because you can't love yourself, right? If you believe you're broken, you don't feel worthy of love, right? Because you're broken, it means that I need fixing. I'm imperfect, right? Once you love yourself as you are, you see you may have issues, but you're still worthy of love, right? Living from the mind treats yourself as an issue to fix, right? Like the past example, when you love from the mind, you look at your partner and say, I have to fix them so I can like them, right? Inverted to yourself, it's like the mind says, I can only feel love myself if I change myself, right? The heart says, I already love myself as I am. I'm happy to progress and evolve, but I'll never stop loving myself. And this also applies to feeling, right? The heart-based consciousness allows everything to be. I think that's the thesis here. Living in your heart allows things to be as they are, right? The mind wants to change and fix. The heart allows, the mind changes and fixes, okay? So, when we encounter anger, jealousy, envy, shame, guilt, they're not pleasant emotions to feel, right? But the truth is they have to be felt to be released and to be processed. The heart sees shame, sees anger, and says, wow, this is painful. And it processes through the heart, and you can love yourself while experiencing it, right? The mind goes into, how can I fix this feeling to not feel it? Mind. So let's think shame. Mind goes, what the hell is this thing? I'm going to try and outwit this feeling so I don't have to feel it. And in that process, I'm going to not like myself because I don't want to feel this feeling. How can I feel this feeling and be a good person, right? Heart. There's no thoughts. It just loves the feeling. It pours love on the feeling, right? I can truly tell you people who are broken just simply aren't in their hearts, right? Because they're stuck in judgment and shame about the way they feel, right? If you're thinking about the way you feel, you're not feeling it. You can only feel something if you actually feel it, not think about it. When you try to heal your emotions through your mind, you're sticking to it because you're thinking about it. When you process your pain through the heart, it's felt and love's poured on it. You can't heal through your mind. It's impossible, right? So heart-based consciousness is the only way to actually transmute your pain because you can actually feel it. If you're always in your mind, you can't feel. It doesn't work that way. So one of the ways that we can actually access this heart and break the mental attachments to needing to be fixed is forgiveness. So the third step is forgiveness. When the mind, like before, and the mind is constantly in judgment of feeling, of insecurity, of these things, you're stuck in the pattern. Love is the energy of forgiveness. That's it. The mind judges, the heart forgives. The mind condemns and seeks vengeance. The heart understands and forgives, right? The heart is the energy of understanding. You can't hate someone and understand them at the same time. You can't hate yourself if you understand yourself, right? The heart, once it's open, can understand what the pain is better than the mind, right? If you feel judgment against someone else, right? And you're judging them in the mind. That just is. You attach a judgment to them and they now live in that, right? But what if you felt them in your heart? You looked at them in your heart. The heart looks at them and says, man, this guy must have had a painful childhood. This guy must have been abused. It understands, right? So there's two experiences of reality, right? We all experience injustice towards ourselves from someone else in our life. We've all been there, right? So, for example, I'm trying to think of something from my life. I'm trying to think of the hardest person I've had to forgive myself in many ways, which is the sad reality. But I think a more useful example could be, let's say the guy that cheated on my, that my girlfriend cheated with back when I was younger. I used to fucking hate that guy, and he would occupy my mind all the time, right? He did it, and then my mind was always like, man, fuck this guy. I'm gonna get back at this guy. I'm gonna fuck his girlfriend when it comes around. And what is that? You're literally taking someone's actions that were bad and then doubling down on them to make them to yourself, right? If you don't forgive, you're attacking yourself, right? You're allowing one action in the real world cause yourself to beat yourself up, right? I lived for months hating this guy, which basically turned an action he did to an action towards myself I kept punching myself in the face with. So that was pure mind. I condemn you, you're a bad person, I'm gonna get revenge, mind. Once I finally found my heart, I was like, what the fuck am I doing here, right? If I forgive this guy in my heart, I'm free. Remember, heart freedom. If I forgive this person, I'm free, right? Once I understood it, it could be reasons as like, okay, the guy could be gay or insecure and he needs to prove his masculinity through doing this, or maybe his dad cheated, right? It's like I finally could understand why this was happening, and then I couldn't get mad at this person because I could see why he was doing this thing, right? If you look at a drug addict in the street, the mind says this guy's a dope, he's just lazy and all these bad things. The heart says, man, this person must have experienced so much trauma and so much abuse in his life that they need drugs at this point in time. And the heart sees them in that reality. The mind condemns, the heart sees and understands, right? In terms of yourself, is what's important is you can't judge yourself and understand yourself at the same time, right? For example, let's say you're trying to quit weed and you smoke one night and you're like hating yourself, you're condemning yourself in your mind. Then if you go to the heart will say, you're in pain, you're in deep pain. And you felt like you needed that to feel safe. You can forgive yourself and move forward, right? That's been my biggest catalyst, right? I couldn't stop being a drug addict until I forgave myself for why I was doing this thing. I was always judging myself in this cycle of shame and judgment. I'd just keep going back to the drugs because it perpetuates the shame and judgment cycle, right? I'd take a drug or watch porn or do something bad and be like, I'm so bad. Why am I doing this? What the fuck's wrong with me? Mind. I kept attracting the same thing. Once I moved to the heart said, you're in pain, Lucas. You're in pain. Forgive yourself. Heal this pain through this center. What forgiveness does not mean is, which is a preface I want to say, is that, forgiveness never justifies a wrongdoing by someone else, right? If a guy punched me in the face, I forgave him. It doesn't justify his punching me in the face. It just makes me not want to punch myself in the face, right? Because if I don't forgive this guy, I'm going to hate him, and that hateful energy is catastrophic for me, right? You can forgive someone and not be around them and not excuse their behavior, but it's for you. Forgiveness is for you, right? So you can forgive someone and not want to hang out with them. That's perfectly fine, but you're forgiving for yourself. So for all the people who say, but this person did this and da-da-da-da-da, I'm never excusing that. I'm saying that you can't live a life in your heart without forgiving everyone in your life. Because anyone you don't forgive owns property in your mind to punch yourself in the face with, right? Because you think that you're giving this person hate, but you're just giving yourself hate, right? If you say, fuck this person, they did this thing, guess who's, that energy's not going to that person, it's going to you because you're feeling the sensation, right? Fuck this person for doing this to me. I'm doing this to me, I'm feeling the same thing, right? The heart can never say that. The heart forgives. So that's that section, which is important, is the heart forgives, the mind condemns. If you live in the heart, you can't condemn. You can't judge. You can't condemn, you can't judge yourself. That's what the mind does. So the next piece is a little different, but the next section will go into mental illness. Why I personally believe that most mental illness is a reflection of living in the mind versus the heart. I do believe that most mental illness can be cured by shifting the consciousness from your mind to your heart. It may sound crazy, but hear me out. So the most prevalent mental illness we're facing in to this day is anxiety, correct? We all deal with it. I deal with it myself. And the way anxiety works, if you reverse engineer it, is I want reality to suit this exact need, and if it doesn't match it, I'll feel fearful. Oh my God, right? For example, let's take romance. You meet someone going out, get their number, and you hit it off. And then the next day you're like, because they like me, I expect them to text me back, right? There's like an established, fixed reality. I want this person to text me back. You shoot the message, they never answer you. And for hours you're stuck in like insecurity, being like, what the fuck? I thought this person liked me. What does it mean about me? Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And you're terrified and anxious and all this stuff. But that was literally because you just needed a fixed reality to be met, right? Transfer that to any single issue ever in your life, right? If you think about money, I need to make a $10,000 a month, right? And that becomes a fixed reality. And then anything that doesn't match that, for example, if you're 20 days in and you only have 6,000, then that's going to cause fear because you have an expectation. Like reality has to be this way for me to feel safe, right? Anxiety is, I need reality to be this way. And when it's not, I'm going to feel fearful because I can't deal with the outcome, right? Anxiety says, I want this outcome and I will release fear until it's met because I don't believe I can handle life not being met this way, right? If you get anxious over not getting a text back, it's because you believe I can't handle not getting a text back. Anxiety is broken when you realize I can handle whatever life throws me, right? So anxiety is created by the mind, by the mental model of once I get X, then I'll feel safe, happy, sexy, boom, right? The heart doesn't work that way. The heart accepts reality as it is, right? So the heart knows that any outcome, there's no wrong outcome. The mind needs an outcome to be a certain way to feel safe. The heart knows there's no wrong outcome. The heart knows that any outcome is always a lesson or a blessing, right? The heart knows, okay, if I don't get that $10,000 this month, it's either a blessing for some opportunity I missed that wasn't meant for me and I'll make more money in the future, or it's a lesson that I have to do something better, right? The heart knows that if a condition isn't met, it doesn't mean I'm wrong or bad, I can't handle it. It means that there's something happening pushing me towards somewhere else. So, for example, back to the dating example, if this woman or man doesn't answer me my text, the heart says, thank God, this person wasn't for you. Why would you want to date someone who isn't answering you, right? That's a blessing. And the lesson could be, why do I attach so much of myself to someone I don't even know? The heart knows that any outcome is a lesson or a blessing. Right now in yourself, think of an outcome you're fearing or you're anxious about. The mind believes, I can only feel safe if this thing happens. The heart says, whatever happens, it's a lesson or a blessing. If you're in the heart, you can't be anxious because the heart knows that any outcome can either evolve you towards development or can make you feel beautiful about where you are. And even if the outcome makes you grow, it's still an amazing place to be, right? The mind says, let's say the condition isn't met. The mind says, oh my God, I'm a failure. I'm broken. Oh my God, what the hell? And you're stuck in this rut. The heart says, oh wow, it didn't happen, but we can grow. We can evolve from this. And the last point is, there's no thing to fear when you realize there's no bad outcome, right? Because remember, anxiety is, I need an outcome to happen. The heart knows there's never a bad outcome. So once you're in the heart, how can you be anxious? Because you know that there's no bad outcome because everything's a lesson or a blessing in the heart. So when you're facing life in the unknowns and the destination life you want, instead of needing to predict reality and fix reality, allow it to be. The heart allows. Just let things unfold as they are. And that may seem like I'm reducing anxiety to some simplistic, reductionist, simple method, but it's not. I can tell you personally, I used to be literally addicted to benzos, Klonopin to be exact, which is a variant of Xanax. It literally stimulates GABA in your brain, which is a neurotransmitter that basically makes you feel good all the time. The amygdala is a portion of your brain that like fears things, and GABA just shuts that down. So I was addicted to neurochemical that would shut down fear in my brain. So I can tell you, I was the world's most anxious person. My mom had severe anxiety. I inherited it. My sister has severe anxiety. My family's riddled with it, and almost every American right now is just full of anxiety. So right now, I can tell you, I'm not an anxious person anymore. I'm truly not. And I can credit that to a lot of different things, right? I'm healthy, I work out, I fast, I eat healthy. But the biggest thing has been just living from the heart. Essentially just allowing life to be as it is. Not having to live life fixing and changing everything to fit my needs. I was a fucking anxious mess when I needed everything to match my reality, right? I was anxious when I always lived life needing an outcome met my exact way. I have faith now because I know there's no good or bad outcome. It's only a lesson or a blessing. That's from the heart, not the mind, right? You can't be in the heart and be anxious because the heart knows there's no fear. You can be in the mind and know anxious because the mind operates out fear. The mind feeds out fear. So if you want a life of fear, live in the mind. If you want a life of faith, live in the heart. Heart equals faith, mind equals fear. It's as simple as that, right? Now for another mental illness beast, we got depression, which to me, depression means that I have so many expectations of the way I think reality should be, and the weight of that is just crushing me down, right? For example, I want to be a millionaire, I want to be famous, I want to have a sexy wife. That's a lot of weight. You want to be the top elite 1%. I'm not saying to not have amazing goals, but when you have that extreme goal and not like fractions of that of steps to lead there, you have all this weight pushing on you because it's not met, right? You have all these expectations that aren't being met. So, and guess what creates those expectations? The mind. The more depressed you are, the more your mind believes you need things to be a certain way to feel good, right? The most depressed people I meet are often the most ambitious, who just quit because they can't bear the weight of the expectations, right? For example, me, for years, I was like, man, if I don't get 1 million followers and 1 million subscribers and all the views, I'm not gonna be happy. Fuck this. What the fuck's going on in my life? Why can't I get these followers, these likes? What the fuck? And all that weight was just like pushing and shoving me down. That's what the mind does. Again, if I get famous, if I get rich, if I get a hot wife, if I get a hot husband, if I have these new amazing friends, then I'll be happy. Then I'll feel sexy. Then I'll feel amazing, right? That's the mind. And the more if-thens you have, the more weight you have on yourself bearing you down. The heart has no conditions. The heart has no boundaries. It's impossible for the heart to tell you, if you get money, then you'll be happy. It's impossible for the heart to tell you, if you get a hot partner, then you can be happy. It's impossible for your heart to tell you that if you get this amazing house, then you'll be happy. Because the heart knows everything is perfect as it is. There's no expectations. When you're in love, in the state of love, you love what is. When you're in the heart, you're with what is. You love what is. When you're in the mind, you need something to change to feel safe about what is. Right? The mind creates conditions, the heart's conditionless. If you live from the mind, you're living for conditions. If you live from the heart, you're living for freedom. So, the heart understands where it is and loves where it is. If you think about, if you live life based on conditions, let's use when you finally get that sexy, attractive partner, and you feel love in that moment, you feel activated. Oh, I'm so in love. No, you're only you feel happy because the expectation, that weight is lifted, right? But then you end up marrying the wrong person, taking the wrong job. What if there was no expectation? What if you just felt love as it was, right? That's not to say that you can't have goals and aspirations, but in anywhere in life, there's a journey, right? If I have goals, right? I want to be successful. I want to have all the followers, subscribers, but that's not a condition. It's not something that has to happen for me to be happy. It's like, I want this thing. However, I'm enjoying the journey. I love the journey, right? Loving the journey is the only way to actually be happy. Because I can say, yeah, I want to have these followers, but me getting 1,000 views in a podcast right now is part of the process to get there. The heart understands. The heart tells me, hey, Lucas, this is part of the process. You can't skip the journey, right? So much of suffering is saying, I want these millions of followers right now. I want these $1 million right now. That's the mind, right? The mind thinks that everything can happen right now. The heart knows that there's a journey. The heart knows that evolution takes time to get there. Once you're in the heart, you can't have the same expectations because you realize, I love the journey. I love the way. I love the path. I love the process. How can you be depressed when you love where you are? How's that even possible? How can you feel like everything's fucked up when you realize that I love life as I am? Right? To summarize this section, the mind creates these massive, heavy expectations that have to be met to feel like you're finally happy. If I get this, then I'll be happy. The heart just allows yourself to be as you are. The heart allows you to love yourself as you are, as life is. The heart trusts the journey. What sounds better? Depending your happiness on an expectation that's ridiculously hard to meet, meaning that you'll be happy maybe for one day when you get it, and then the next expectation will come. That's the way the mind works. The mind says, once I get this thing, I'll be happy. You get the thing, you're not happy, and then it goes to, next thing, I'm not happy, next thing, I'm not happy, and you're in this fucking rat race of misery. Guess what the heart does? The heart says, I accept reality as it is. I love reality as it is right fucking now. What's more sustainable? The heart. The heart has no conditions. The heart says, I love myself as I am. I love the journey as it is. There's no conditions. This is why you have to shift from the mind to the heart. You can't enjoy life from the mind because the mind depends your sanctity and happiness on conditions. That's misery. Love is as it is. That's it. So, to summarize all this, I'm going to try and pick apart the key distinctions to remind you guys of. The mind wants to fix control. The heart wants to allow and surrender. Right? What's a better reality? Fixing and controlling things constantly to meet your way of life, or allowing it to be. Right? You can't be happy and fulfilled if you're not present in your life. Right? You can only be present in the heart. Because again, when you live life from the mind says, I can only be happy and enjoy life if I have these conditions met all the time. When you're in the if then but that world, you can't be present. You can only be present if you appreciate where you are. Because if you're in the mind all the time, you will avoid the present moment constantly to not face reality. The mind doesn't want to face reality because it can never accept reality. Literally. That's why the Buddhists argue you cannot live in the mind because the mind will never accept reality. The mind will always combat reality to feel safe. The heart is the only part of your body that accepts reality. When you live in the heart, you can accept reality as it is. The mind fights reality, the heart accepts reality. You can only be happy once you accept reality. So the condition towards happiness is to live in the heart. That's it. Once you live in the heart, you can't be anxious. You can't be depressed. You can't have ADHD because you accept life as it is. Any mental illness is a manifestation of not accepting reality as it is. That's it. And of course, be healthy. Don't take drugs. Go to the gym. Eat healthy. To me, why I'm making this video and this podcast is, yeah, sure, I'm versed in Jungian analysis. I'm well versed in shamanism, reading people, all these things. But the simplest solution I can offer to you is you will experience the biggest difference in life when you live from the heart. That's it. Shifting from the mind to the heart is the most efficacious practice to live a life of enlightenment. Because you actually can enjoy life as it is, not as you need it to be. That's a thesis. Enjoying life is accepting it as it is. You can't enjoy life if you always need it to be something else. The mind always needs life to be a different way. The love in your heart accepts life as it is. Once you accept life as it is, you can enjoy it, truly. Think about workaholics or parents who are never present because they're always needing things in the future. We can finally have a house and be happy and be a good family once I get this thing. And the thing comes, and then they realize nothing changed, and they have to get the next thing over and over again. The rat race of life, of never being present and happy, is the mind. Once you go to the heart, you realize, holy shit, I can be present. I can trust reality as it is. That's love. Okay? The last thing I want to emphasize, which might take a while, but it's important, is that the human experience is basically developing the skill of returning to the heart. The mind will never stop yapping. The mind will never stop trying to take you away from acceptance. But what spirituality to me is the skill and the flex of coming back to the heart. Right? The faster you get at that, the more awake and enlightened you are. So, to explain things metaphysically, I've tried to be pretty rational throughout this podcast. So if you're a rationalistic person who doesn't want to hear about the spiritual stuff, you can check out now. Now I'll get a little funky with esotericism. The mind is designed in this simulation, God simulation, or in this reality, if you want to call it, as a training partner to remind you of the power of love. The mind is a creation of the ego and our egoistic needs to serve ourselves and to be withdrawn in neuroses and to separate from other people in love. The mind is basically here to separate us from reality, right? The reason why presence in your heart feels amazing is because you're not separate. When you're in your mind, you're separate. So the mind equals separation. The heart equals cohesiveness. So if you live in the mind, you live in separation. If you live in the heart, you live in cohesiveness. So we all have minds. We're all going to separate. But the trick is to catch yourself separating and then bring yourself back to love. I separate, I come back. I still judge people. I'll look at someone in the street and go, you're fucking insane. I'll look at someone downing tequila shots in the club and doing lines of cocaine and being like, you're fucking wild. But then I go back to the heart and I think, this person's in pain. That's their karma. They're here to heal this in this experience. And they will one day. It may not be in this lifetime, but they will heal this wound that they keep coming back for. That's the heart. So when I judge myself or others, I see it and I come back to the heart and I love. Each time you do that, it's like XP points in the simulation. You're literally giving yourself, you're evolving, right? And the more you evolve the consciousness down to the heart, the closer you get there, the more you evolve spiritually. And if you get to a place where you fully live completely in your heart, you will ascend out of this dimension. You won't reincarnate. You'll basically keep reincarnating until you live fully in the heart. Jesus was an avatar and was the master of this game to the highest level of anyone ever, because he was always in his heart. That's what Christ consciousness is. Even though the Bible, butchers his teachings and actually shows him to be pretty hateful, which isn't Jesus at all, but Jesus mastered reality because he lived in his heart. The person we look up to as the moral leader and the moral avatar of reality, Jesus, just lived in his heart. He was a master at living in his heart. And I'm sure Jesus had a mind and an ego, but he knew that the mind had to be trained to come back to the heart, right? What the mind does is it focuses. At a base level, the mind focuses. It can pick what to focus on. And then further that rabbit hole through thoughts, right? The mind focuses. You can use the mind to focus on the mind and focus on issues of separation, or you can use the mind to focus on the heart. So you can have a judgment and your mind can go, ooh, judgment, and then follow that. Or you can use your mind to say, I judge, but I'm going to come back to my heart. So you can train your mind to focus on the heart consciousness. So you can catch your mind going, judgment, hate, all these things aren't great, and then use the same mind to focus on your heart. So to end here, there really is two lives. One lived in the heart, one lived in the mind. Again, one lived of separation, one lived of love. We're here in this density or consciousness or simulation. Our souls came here to master love, right? When we're with God, when we're with the higher realms, there is no separation. There just is love. So we actually come here to experience separation. But why the fuck would God want us to experience separation, judgment, hate, condemning, separation, feeling terrible about yourself? Why the fuck would God want us to experience that? To remember how important it is to not feel that, right? We come here to separate to remember how amazing it is to be one again, right? And the mind is the instrument of separation. The heart is a reminder of unity. So we can't delete our separate mind. We can use that same mind to come to the heart, right? So I hope that was helpful. And I'm also here going to tell you that I'm still in this part of life. I'm still constantly reminding myself of the power of the heart and to come back home to the heart. It's an forever process. I can't speak, apologies. But please leave a like and let me know how this resonated with you. And let me know what specific things you find the hardest to come back to the heart on, right? For me, it's actually myself. Is that when I catch myself in patterns of thought and behaviors I don't deem as good, I separate the most. When it's other people, I actually can forgive them very fast. But for myself, it's hard for me to become one again when I'm fucking up my life. And that's my work. But thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed that video. If you want to watch more content, please click this video right here and don't forget to subscribe right here. Thank you.